Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Uh, it's our day 4. Yesterday we started user management topic, right? So we are going to cover some of the topics in user management and then we would see if we can get some time. So then we can also switch to the virtualization portion because we also need to cover VMware Workstation today. Let me give you a quick overview of yesterday topic. If you remember guys, we started from Windows 10 installation. During installation, we talked about disk partitions, like how we can create partitions. Then we also talked about primary partitions and extended partitions. Then we discussed how we can use disk part utility to create partitions, and then we started installation of Windows 10. After installation, we discussed user management. We talked about Microsoft account, we talked about local account. Yesterday we also discussed that uh, during installation, right? During installation, how uh, when we are creating a user account, like mm, for example, uh, let's say you have created a user with the name of Tahir, and that is your first user, right? So when you create user Tahir, first user, during installation, it's become the, give me one time, give me 1 minute, sorry guys, I'm getting a call, so let me pass. So we discuss about first user, that we create first user Tahir. We also discussed that in production environment, if you are using this machine in your organization and you will have to do some system administration, so for that purpose you need to enable built-in administrator account. If this is your personal laptop, let me repeat it, if this is your personal machine, you do not need to enable built-in administrator, you can still use Tahir user. Sorry guys, I was mute. So uh, if this is your personal laptop, right, you do not need to enable built-in administrator on your personal laptop because you are not going to do any system administration. But again, you can also enable system built-in administrator and you can create another account for yourself. So for the safety of your machine, whenever you are working on your machine, you can simply use the other user instead of built-in administrator. And if for some reason if you are doing some changes to your machine, then the built-in administrator password would be required. Okay, are you guys able to hear me? Am I audible to you guys?
Yes, sir.
Perfect, perfect. So till now, any question till now? I think it answered your question. From in the start of the class, someone asked me regarding the built-in administrator. So in organization, we need to enable built-in administrator account so that we can do administration of this machine. What is administration? Changing of system time, changing of IP address, changing the computer name, and all these stuff. Let me log into this machine. This is our machine actually. You can see here. We only have one account, that is administrator. So if this machine will be used by different users, we need to create user accounts for them, right? So we have a Windows 10 machine in which has only one account, that is administrator. We also set a password on that. So today we are going to discuss that how we can create standard user accounts. That is our topic today, that how we can create standard user accounts. That's our topic. So first you need to log in with administrator account to the machine. So I think we set ABC123 password yesterday, if you remember. Do you remember that? That was
Yes,
our
sir.
past password yesterday, which we configured yesterday. Okay. So we can create standard user account with different methods. We can use CMD. We can use local user and groups. What's the command? Can someone tell me how to open local user and groups window? One option is you can simply right click and on your PC, this
Net
PC,
user.
and what was the command?
Net user.
No, it was not net user.
Sir, lusrmsg.exe.
Very good. lusrmgr.msc. That was the command. Thank you. I think Yasser also mentioned that. So you can use this command and this window will be opened. You can simply right click here and you can click new user. Once you click new user, it will ask for a username. So you can write Yasir and you can write Yasir Khan in full description. In full name and description, you can write student. You can set a password, for example, 123 123. Let me mute you all, right? So you can uh, set a password. You can write description. You can write full name. Kindly mute yourself, please. Okay. Password is not necessary. You can create a user without password. You can remove the description. You can remove the full name, but username is must, and you can create it. What does it mean? We will discuss it. What are these options used for, right? We are not going to discuss it right now, and you can simply create it. So as you can see here, we have finally created a user account with the name of Yasir. Once you right click on Yasir user and go to properties, you can see by default this user is a member of users group. So when a user is a member of users group, we call it standard user. Standard user accounts, right? Let me create another account as well. Okay, new user. Let me write Sami, and without password I'm going to create another user. So now I have two user accounts here. So finally we have created two standard user account. What is the reason of creating multiple user accounts? So let's suppose this machine will be used by Sami and Yasir in future. Sami will use it in the morning time and Yasir will be using it night time. So let's suppose this machine will be used in a hospital and we hire two people for the same position but for different shifts, right? So the best practice is to create a separate user account for each user. And why is that? Because for every user a separate profile will be created. They can keep a separate wallpaper on their desktop, right? They can keep unique data on their desktop. So for example, when Sami log into the to its account, so a separate account, a separate user profile will be created and the folder will be created under users folder for Sami user, and under that folder semi user desktop folder, documents folder, pictures, videos, a separate folders will be created. So when Semi puts some data on his desktop, that data will be stored under Semi folder. And Yasir user will not be able to access those data. So we are giving privacy to each user, right? So that's how things are work in the production environment. Exactly, exactly. You are right, Mr. Sami. Is it safe to use multiple accounts on single PC? Okay. Basically, yep, it is safe for if you have two employees and they are uh, using this machine, right? But on different times. So the good practice is to create different user account so that one user cannot change the settings of other user. So that's the good practice. Okay, what if, okay, sir, user and guest account same. Okay. Oh wow, I'm getting too much questions today. That's good. Let me answer one by one. But it's Azan time. Give me just 1 minute. So let the Azan finish and then we can start it. Okay, Ji, welcome back. I have many questions. So let me answer each question one by one. Let's start. Uh, I think I answer Manur question. Qasim, your question is what is the difference between user and guest account? That's a valid question. Give me some time, Qasim. I will answer your question after 2 minutes or 3 minutes. What if we used if we want to share data between users? That's possible. I mean, if a user put some data, let's suppose you have two users. One is Sami and other is uh, Yasir, right? So if we have C drive, D drive, E drive, so if Sami puts some data on D drive, Yasir will be able to see that data. By default, it's possible. So this is how they can share their data with each other. And there is a public folder as well. So if Yasir puts some data on the public folder, Sami would be able to access that data. But if Sami puts some data on his desktop, Yasir will not be able to access that data. Because of password, yes, we also need to set a password. And Tayyiba is asking, why are you taking class in English language? Okay, the reason is because I have some international audience as well. So when I uh, receive a registration form, I saw many people from different countries, which is why I had to use English. Otherwise, I'm okay with Pashto and Urdu. So that's one of the reason. The tone does not work correctly. Which tone? Oppo 1A5S. I'm not getting your question. Okay. Uh, Hopefully I answer all of your question. So you can see here I have now two users created. Let me log out from administrator account and I'm showing three user accounts on this machine, right? One is me, that would be you, right? And in your organization that would be you. Let's suppose this machine is used by your younger brothers or sisters at your home. So you can enable administrator account for yourself and you can create user account for them so that you can monitor them, right? So for your own safety, standard user accounts are good. You have to create them. So let me try to log in using Sami account. Let me see. Okay, Kasim is asking, sir, you had removed the first user account, so now we have no non-built-in account. Basically, Sami and Yasir are non-built-in accounts. Non-built-in accounts are those accounts which are created by us, not by system. So Sami and Yasir are non-built-in accounts, but it's under standard user category because they are member of users group. So I'm going to log in on Sami account, and usually when we are logging in for the first time it will take some time. What could be the reason why a user takes more time as normal when we are logging in for the first time or when you are signing in for the first time? The reason is for each user a profile will be created in C users folder, which is why it is taking that much time, right? And one more thing, guys, after 8 minutes you are going to disconnect. So when you are disconnected, please join me again using the same link. I'm going to finish the today's session at 4 o'clock, 4 p.m. Pakistan time, because I have another session, so I had to leave. I will have to leave this session at 4 o'clock. Okay, so what we have learned so far, let me revise it for you guys. We just learned how to create standard user account. Instead of creating multiple accounts, we could also create a single account with the name of employee. Just like in your university, there is only one administrator account and other student account. So which one is the best practice? Multiple accounts or a single employee or student account? Can someone answer me? What is the best practice? Just like in your university, uh, you have only one account, that is student account, but here we are.
Sir, I think that individual accounts will be okay for privacy reasons or other. For example, if a student want to store assignments or other material which he do not want to share with others, so individual accounts will be okay.
Awesome, yep. So in production environment or in organization, we prefer individual account for each user, right? That is a good practice. At office, multiple accounts and in university, single user is best. Okay, Mr. Tahir, in some of the university, they will create a separate account for each user. So, do you know about domain environment, domain client environment, domain client environment, where we have Active Directory domain services. So, during admission time, we create a separate account for each student, and that account
Sir,
is. Mhm.
like Google G Suite services, they are providing those.
Yeah. So um, in most of the university they have domain client environment and they have created a separate user account for each student as well. So that's another story. Now let's stuck with this topic for now, and let's see. We can see here we have logging into, we have sign in using which account? Mr. I believe Semi, right? So we have login using Semi account. Semi can change the desktop icon, the desktop wallpaper, right? You can also add recycle bin. Okay, we have a very good question. I will answer you. So Semi can change the desktop icon, the wallpaper, right? and Sami can also put some data on the desktop. Sami data. So we have a question from Mr. Student, I believe. How can we prevent other user to access to D drive? So we have a topic in this course, and that topic is called NTFS permission. So when I start NTFS permission, I will show you how we can prevent users to use drive D or drive E. We can also restrict user to access a specific folder. For example, you have on drive D you have two folders. One is called movies folder and the other is called studies folder. So I can also restrict a specific user to not open to movie folder. So that user will not be able to access movies folder, but the user will be able to access studies folder, right? Okay, we have a question from Mr. Qasim that what is the difference between guest account and standard user account? Qasim, I'm coming to your question. Give me just some time. Let me log out again and let me sign in on Yasir user account. Basically, uh, guest account is a temporary account. For example, you have a laptop and one of your guests uh, come from the your village and they ask you to you, to give them your laptop to use it, right? So for your guest you cannot create a permanent account like standard user account. You can simply enable guest account for them. They can log in to your machine using guest account. They can do whatever they want, and once they are done you can simply disable guest account. And let's suppose you have another guest after 1 month, so you can again enable guest account and there will be another fresh profile will be created there, right, for them. I mean another guest profile will be active for them. So the guest profile, the guest account is a temporary profile. So if you want to give someone a temporary access, you can simply enable guest, and there are limitations on guest as compared to standard user account. Standard user account has more access, but standard user account cannot change the system time, cannot change the system name, cannot change the system IP address, right? But with standard account we can perform many operations or many tasks as compared to guest account. So guest account is only used for a temporary based login. You cannot create accounts for each guest. So if you have 10 guests visiting this month, so you cannot create 10 user accounts for them. You can simply enable or disable guest for them just for a temporary login. So I hope it answer your questions. Okay, now let's discuss some of the properties of the user account.
Sir, actually, it is creating each and every setting for new user.
Very good.
Okay.
A new folder will be created, a new profile will be created for each individual user, which is why it will take a little bit longer as normal login. Exactly, thank you. Okay, now I have logged in using Yasir account and Yasir wants to see Sami data, right? So Yasir knows that the data, the Sami data is stored on users folder under Yasir under Sami folder, right? And see, you can see here Yasir is not able to access Sami data. It is asking for administrator account. Yasir wants to create another user account, he is not able to. So a standard user cannot perform administration, cannot do administration, but uh, standard user can change its password, its desktop, wallpaper, and all these stuff, right? So now let's see the different options of the user. So we are now discussing the properties of a user account. Once we are done, we would see if we can start another topic. If not, then we can start it from next week, right? So let me log in using administrator account again. So if you are doing some changes to your machine, if you are doing some administration, if you are creating another user, if you want to rename a user account, if you want to delete a user account, if you want to change the system time, if you want to install an application, if you want to remove an application, then you need to log in using administrator account. So during creation of a user, right, let me show you something. Okay, my machine is running slow today, I don't know why, for some reason. Okay guys, okay, so you can see here, let me create another user. How we have, let's suppose, let me create a user with the name of Mahnur, right? So we have this user. By default, this option is checked. User must change password at next logon. By default, this option is checked. What does it mean? Actually, when you create a user account, right, you can set a temporary password for that user. For example, ABC, right? So that is the password of that user. And this is the new hire, right? So you can ask that user that, hey, this is your temporary password. You can use this password for the first time, but during logon time you need to change your password, because every user wants its own password, not the password which I will be creating for that user, because we also need to respect the privacy of the user. Administrator doesn't mean that you will be assigning a password for each individual user, because I'm not responsible for someone else's password, right? So the best practice is to check this option during creation of a user account. So let's see, I have not set any password yet, and let me log in to that account. User must change password at next logon, right? So let's see. So sign in. Now you can see Manur is getting this message. The user's password must be changed before signing in. So once you click OK, what's gonna happen? It will ask to set a password. For example, Manur set a password 123123. If she doesn't set a password, that's not my headache, that's her problem. I mean, if something happens to her account, or if another user logged into her account and remove a file or delete a file or create a file, so that's not my responsibility, because as an administrator I give her an option that you can set your own password, right? And now you can see she was able to change her password. during first login, right? So I hope it's clear to all of you that if you are creating user account, especially we use this option in production environment and organization. For example, you have three new hires, three new employees in your organization, and they will be using this machine. So it's hard for me as an administrator, it's hard for me to set a password for them. So what I can do, I can set a random password or a temporary password for them, and I can check that button, and whenever they are trying to log in for the first time, they can set their own password. Does it make sense, guys? Any question? No question so far? There is a background noise, so if you have a background noise, you can simply write your question. Okay, Mr. Sami is asking another question. Can you mute yourself, please? Who is that? What happens if my window is not activated? Obviously, it will stop working. You will not get any updates from Microsoft, so that's not a good thing. That if you do not have an activated window, there are some about policies in Windows. Yes, we are coming to that point. Student, what's your name actually? Kindly moving forward whenever you are joining the Zoom session, use your own names. I just created a user account, but still I can use the administration data. How can I prevent it from the user? Mr. Farhan, can you explain your question again? What type of administrator data you can access it so that I can answer your question? Yes, we do have this topic, Mr. Student. We are coming to that point. Let's finish the properties of a user account first. Okay. One more thing you should keep in mind, that a user can change its password, right? Like you can see here, uh, we have this user account, right? What's the name of this user? Manur is the name of this user. So if she wants to change her password, she can simply hold these three buttons, Control plus Alt plus Delete. So when a user is logged in, and when that user hit these three button, hold these three button, a window will be appear, and he or she can change uh, his or her password, right? They can change. So a user can change its password. That is the default permission, or the default permission allowed to that user, right? Okay, what if you are working on VMware Workstation virtual machine? So instead of Control Alt Delete, you can use Control Alt Insert key, right? So if you are performing something on your VMware Workstation virtual machine, you can use Control Alt Insert key instead of Delete key, right? I have many questions, so I'm going to answer those questions, but let me first finish the another topic, the other option of the user properties. So once I'm done with those options, then I will be able to answer your question. If not, then we can discuss these in next session, because some of the topics, student topic, Farhan on question, and and semi question, they all are related to our upcoming topics. So I'm sorry, guys, I would not be able to address your questions today because I need to finish the properties of a user. But please do remind me whenever we started next session next week. So let me right click on Yasser user and go to properties. I can see user must change password at next logon. We already discussed this option. User cannot change password. Is it clear? When we check this button, what will happen? This user will not be able to change its password. Are we clear? So when we check this button, this user will not be able to change its password. So why we will check this option on a user account and why a user needs to change its password? So let me explain it. By default, after 42 days, every user password will be expired, right? After 42 days, every user password will be expired, and every user will get a message that hey, your password is expired and you need to change your password. That's the default security, built-in security in your Windows machine, right? So if after 42 days Yasser get a message that your password is expired and you need to change it, so if this option was unchecked, then Yasser would be able to change its password. So if the option is checked, Yasser would not be able to change his password. So definitely Yasser will come to administrator, that would be you, and Yasser will ask you that hey, my password is expired and I need to change it and I need permission. So as an administrator, I will be okay that hey, yes, the new password is going to sit by Yasser and not someone else. So that's another security for Yasser as well. And we also need to show our presence in our organization, right? So if you are working in an organization, you need to show your presence as well. So that's also a good option for you as well. When you check this option after 42 days, everyone will come to you. They will also realize that hey, this man is doing his job. I mean, right? He is not coming just for using internet or something like that. So we also need to show our presence, and we also need uh, to make sure that the new password will be set by the exact user and not someone else, right? So we can check this option and the user will not be able to change its password. But after 42 days, when the user came to you, you can simply uncheck that option and Yasser will be able to change it. What is this option means? Password never expires. So if you do not want someone to come to you after 42 days, you can simply check this option. Especially uh, in organization, we have different types of user: executives, managers. Like in university, we have teachers, students. So let's suppose Yasser is a teacher, so you can check this option for Yasser so that the teacher password will not be expired, but the student password will be expired after 42 days. Okay, how about this option? Account is disabled. So if you want to disable an account for some reason, so you can simply check this button, account is disabled, and Yasser account will be disabled. For example, Yasser is a student of university, but he didn't submit a university fee. So your management asks you to disable Yasser account immediately so that he can submit his fee. So this is also one of the reason. Maybe Yasser is going for a vacations. and he will not be using this account for 1 month. So you cannot delete Yasser account, because with each user account there is a profile folder associated linked, right? So we can simply disable that account to avoid invalid logon attempts. So you can simply disable Yasser account, and once he came back you can simply uncheck this that button and he will be able to do that. Yes, definitely we can enable it again. We can log in using administrator account and we can simply enable it. And inshallah, next week we are going to cover this account is locked out. I'm sorry guys, I have to leave now because I have another students waiting for my other session, VMware session I have now. So hopefully you have learned something new today, and see you inshallah next week. And if you have any question, I will see if I can uh, make sure you all are in my WhatsApp group, and I will see if I can uh,